second.
You're better than I am.
When are we ever ready when the show starts?
Hello. We're live. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you go like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, follow, tell everyone you know. We will let you do that for 1 second because I need to do the same thing. I need to go share. So Hollywood Matrimony is live right now, babe. We're live. We're live. So let me share this with everyone.
Do we know who they are? Are they good people?
They are good people. They're very nice. They're a nice couple.
They look like dunderheads.
Oh, they're a nice couple. They try real hard.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they really know?
They do. They do the best they can. They're special. Okay, I've shared it to my timeline. I'm sharing it to my story. I'm telling everybody I know. There you go. All right. We're going to talk about some movies. And actually a TV show this time too, but it all kind of ties together to the movies. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to turn my sound off so we don't get distracted.
Okay.
All right.
I'm about to distract us.
Are you?
Yeah.
Do you not have your sound off?
Not yet, but I will in a second.
You're supposed to turn off your sound before you call the radio.
But I'm not on the radio.
All right. So what do we want to talk about first? Let me get my things up. Really?
It's part of the charm of what we do.
That's part of the charm? Really?
Yeah.
I don't think
All right,
so.
go ahead.
All right. Well, what do we want to talk about today?
Well,
there's such a variety.
Let's start on the show first because it's kind of a new big thing. Can we pull this table in just a bit?
Yeah, of course.
It's the new big thing, but it is directly connected to one of the biggest cinematic franchises of all time. Would be the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and what we're referring to as Marvel's first original TV series programming for Disney Plus. Obviously, it's not Marvel's first TV series.
Correct.
But this was the first Disney Plus series called WandaVision.
WandaVision.
And even though it's TV, it is directly connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, much like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but probably a little more so than that was. The first season or two of that one was still connected, and then it went off on its own tangent. I think this was going to directly tie in with tons of stuff in the future of where the series, the films are going to be going, leading into Doctor Strange and Spider-Man 3 and all those. Or
is it? We don't know.
Pretty sure it is.
I think so too. Because we're not super clear on timeline of this.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's after because it's got to be. It makes sense to be after because they're making references. But who knows? Because Marvel likes to flip things on their head.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about WandaVision, it was probably
where have you been?
It's probably the most ambitious project, I think, in the Marvel Universe, in my opinion, because it's not just the straightforward superhero series or superhero movie with tons of action and special effects and all the stuff. This was paying homage to sitcoms.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Like the first episode was
Dick Van
Dyke-ish. The second one was obviously Bewitched.
Right.
And I hope this isn't it's not a spoiler based on the image, but Bewitched, I do think started off in black and white, and then we got episodes in color, and so that happens in this thing.
Well, from what I understand, every episode is going to kind of jump into a different time period. So, like things like I don't know if it's exactly these, but like Brady Bunch and I forgot what the other one I was thinking of that I saw.
I hope we get an I Love Lucy homage.
I don't know. We probably already passed that one. So now we're going into color.
That's
it's probably
true.
Going to be more,
would have been black and white.
I'm assuming they're going to stick to sitcoms that were probably connected to the network.
Yeah, it's
ABC,
so good.
Whatever that owns it. But this was probably my least excited for a show initially.
Really?
Just because I'm like,
oh, hold on, there's a dog behind me.
It wasn't because I didn't think it was going to be good. It's because I didn't know how interesting it was really going to be. Plus, I'm not a huge Vision Scarlet Witch fan.
Yeah. Bless you.
Corona. But I do like them in the films, and I like what they've done with the characters. And I did enjoy the fact that we get to see a little more of their relationship. It was only kind of barely glossed over, once we got into the Infinity War and all that kind of stuff. Because I knew in the comics that they had gotten married, but I also, it was always, even though Scarlet Witch was an Avenger, she was an X-Men, it was Magneto's daughter, and it was all these things that got separated because of Fox, and What?
I have a random question. How come she suddenly has no accent? That happened in the movies.
It shifted a while back. I don't know. They just
that bothered me.
They probably just said screw it
because they bring up where she's from in one of these episodes, and I'm like, okay. Anyways, so what have you thought about the show so far?
I love the show. The show is so good. It's clever. It's fun. There's tons of little Easter eggs in there for hardcore fans. Even something I didn't realize. I was talking to another friend of mine, and he was telling me some stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even catch that. There's stuff connected to some of the movie stuff, if you really pay attention, while still being its own thing. Like, you can watch it and never see the movies, as
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
and not need every little thing. You just won't have as much fun. But
Correct.
I liked how each episode focused on a specific thing, where, like, episode 2 really focuses on trying to hide her magic during a silly situation.
Yes.
Very much like Bewitched was always trying to hide her powers.
Right.
Or Darren was always trying to hide her powers. But I really had fun with it. And there's those little nuances of how you can they suddenly feel like something's off, but they're so in.
Yeah.
It's. I think Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, I think, are killing it.
They're doing really good on that.
Especially her. I think she's doing the most with that changing of her voice with each version of her, and wearing the pearls and walking around.
So cute. Yeah, and I like all of that. I think that's what I was like. Okay, you know, just the first opening credits, and we open up into the audience applauding and that whole thing. I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing, because I had no idea, and I think most of us didn't really know going into it what is it going to be, because the commercials and previews were a little bit vague.
Yeah.
And we don't know. I think we do know there's like something bigger going on that they're inside.
Yeah,
and
but we don't know if it's
to avoid.
We don't know if it's somebody who's doing it, if it's inside one of their heads, if it's their prisoner, if we're or if it's an alternate dimension. You don't know. You know there's something, but you don't know why.
And there's
what.
And the interesting thing too is there's always something a little bit odd. Like you said, they know, but even the people around them and stuff know, and she knows, but she's trying to fight. I don't know.
And if you haven't seen the show yet, this isn't a spoiler, but they clearly don't know what's going on. They think they're in these worlds.
Correct.
They think it's their life, and then all of a sudden it's like,
well, because there's, I don't know, I don't remember which episode we watched them back to back, but it's like, so how long have you been married? Why don't you have
and then
a ring?
They realize,
what's your anniversary? And they're like, because they are married. That's how the show starts.
Yeah.
But are they? And where's the ring? And what's the date? And where are we? I mean, it's really interesting.
It is an interesting twist. And it's another one. I was so glad that Disney Plus dropped 2 episodes back to back. So we go on. I'm assuming it's going to go down to 1 episode.
Yeah, 1 a week. You know, it's going to be hard to do.
But who knows? Being only a 30-minute show, because it is being run like a sitcom as well. It's allowing them to play. So maybe they'll drop 2 each week. I doubt it, but I can hope for the best.
Yeah. So far, based on people's comments, people have been enjoying the show. They were excited to watch it. I know our whole group of friends is like, hey, do y'all want to get together on Zoom tonight? They're like, no, we have to watch WandaVision. Right. So everyone was watching it. So I think it's going to be a hit.
I think it already is. And I think it's one of those, I was watching an interview with Paul Bettany talking about it. And
I like him, by the way.
Talking about how,
I think he's a nice person.
Well, it's talking about how this was another one of those chance-taking swings that they were like, really? You know,
but
and
I would do it.
They were asking him how they were going to, they pulled off, like, the very first episode, they actually got a live studio audience.
That's so fun.
And they're like, so Marvel's always so secretive. How do you have a live studio audience? And believe it or not, the first episode doesn't really tell you anything. So somebody could spoil the entire first episode, and it really wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
But he said that they had to fill out, like the non-disclosure form, that it was like a book, this kind of thing. So, but
because people get in trouble for spoiling things, and the most famous that gets in trouble.
Who?
That always gets in trouble.
Oh, Tom Holland?
Yes, Spider-Man. Always in trouble. Anyways, check out WandaVision. It's available now on Disney Plus.
So we'll see what happens, and we're going to kind of start any of the shows, like the Star Wars or the Marvel shows. We'll probably start infusing them in here.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen with all the upcoming Star Wars things. There's so much happening. Yeah. So it'll be fun.
Anywho.
All right. Next, what do we want to talk about next? We have a strange variety of things.
And we saw everything together.
Yes. Do you want to go here or do you want to go there? Okay, let's start here. This is different, which I'm glad. I love different movies. So there you go. This movie is called Yellow Rose. And what's it about, babe?
Well, the title, if you think about it, it's kind of racist. Think about it.
Oh,
now you got it, don't you?
I just got that, but I think it's a double entendre.
It is.
Because the girl's name is Rose. She is Filipino, but she's singing country music. So then we got that Yellow Rose.
Yeah, so it's a play on thing.
I just got it. I'm so dumb. I was just thinking country music.
Well, I didn't get it until we were watching the movie. About halfway, I went, oh.
Did you write anything?
But it's because, not yet.
Okay.
Because we just finished. But it's the reason is
it's important to the story that she's
is not
Filipino.
What the story I thought we were getting.
No, not at all.
They sent it to me. I didn't know anything about it other than I saw something, not even a trailer, but some commercial. I, for life of me, cannot remember the commercial. But has this Filipino family dressed like her, all of them, and there's like everybody. Anyway, so we read the synopsis, and it was about a Filipino girl and her mother, and she's aspiring to be kind of find her place through music. Just happen to be country, and that's kind of all they tell you.
Correct.
What we didn't realize was this movie is very much about immigration and
her and her mother get separated, and the struggle to stay in the United States and pursue her dreams with country music. So it was a lot deeper than I thought.
Yeah, the country music was actually secondary to the main, because I thought it was going to be her singing and being discovered and doing this thing.
And then being like, I thought it was going to be like an Asian girl singing country music. I thought she was going to confront that.
I thought she was going to deal with that stuff throughout that stuff. But the music story is like, it kind of comes to a end cap with the country story, and people she meets is through the country music, but the rest of it is her dealing with this loss and the struggles and what am I going to do next, and trying to be better in life and deal with people that don't want to have her around and having nobody. But
and I was so I expected it to be the struggle of trying to fit into the realm of country music. But honestly, there's like one line where the guy's like, "Oh, you don't seem like a typical fan." She's like, "Fans are everywhere." Which is true. And I think we see that like with Hootie, who now does country music.
Oh, after he got rid of the Blowfish?
Yes, Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish.
Who's a big country
He's a big time country thing. And so I think that's the interesting thing I've always noticed. Country music embraces their people and their artists,
Most of the time.
Typically. More than like when you have the white rappers are like, they call them whatever. I don't want to say the name, but they do.
They're a little more accepting of the race now, unless they become big. Then they tend to turn on them because they don't like that they're succeeding in their music. Like there's that ongoing argument about Eminem being the greatest rapper of all time, and whether you like him or not, most of the big iconic rappers.
His name is Hootie.
they
you knew who I was talking about.
Most of them consider Eminem to be the greatest of all time. And like there's a great line, and we'll go back to this.
Oh, who's that other kid with the glasses? He's amazing.
Logic. But there's a documentary about rap, and Ice-T narrates it. And one of the best lines in that movie is he's interviewing all these different rappers and Jay-Z's and Ice Cubes, I think, and all this, whoever's in it. But as he's narrating, he's like, rap shifts to this game and this blah, blah, blah. And then he has a line where when he gets to talk to him, and he goes, and who would have ever thought the greatest rapper of all time would come from a white boy?
I mean,
and he interviews Eminem.
It's interesting. Okay, I'm being told the Yellow Rose of Texas, the song, I guess, is about a mixed woman. It's a mulatto.
Who's lying to you about that?
I don't know, but I'm going to take
Let me guess. It's some other...
A musician.
It's a musician who's of another race.
But here's the deal. This movie, it's kind of sad.
It is.
It's very depressing because her and her mom get separated a little bit, and then you find out, which I think we already knew. First of all, I love that they're telling the story not with Latinos or Hispanic people.
Yeah. But we did get confused.
There's a little bit of that.
We remember early in the movie, we had to watch it in 2 parts because we had stuff on both. Early in the movie, we had read the box and it was Filipinos.
Correct.
So we were pretty sure they were Filipinos. But then with their names and when the immigration comes and takes them and they're going, they were like, are they Hispanic?
No, but I knew based on the names.
Well, I know, but it was like it was a weird moment of the way it was played out that it kind of threw us for a second.
Yeah, but then we got back on track. So I love that we're getting the Asian perspective on the same things that probably my people go through. But it's interesting. I was going to say that we know that once people come to America, they change. They tend to change. And her mom, I think, remained kind of true to her heritage and who she was. She was a very simple woman. She's a housekeeper, just cleaning up motels. But then her sister, who she married the well-off American man.
A white man.
And she completely changed and left that kind of heritage behind, So it's interesting how that changes people. And so this little girl's kind of stuck between like, okay, my mom's gone. Let me go see if I can stay with my aunt. And then the who?
The white man.
Didn't want her there. And so
always the white man.
Then she goes off on this journey with just people who help her along the way that she meets through this
another white man that helps her too. So they balance.
I mean, it's a
what I really like
that
they
story.
didn't do in this movie is because, as you mentioned, there's some other people that help her along the way, and they're unlikely people that help her.
Yeah.
They kind of embrace her, and it is through the music and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so glad we didn't go into that creepy realm.
Yes,
because there's an element where
it could have gone that way.
Yeah, there's an element that it was a perfect chance for them to do that kind of thing in a lot of the stories where there's an older white man who's kind of mentoring her, if you will. And there's moments where you can easily see how they could twist that.
Yeah, make it
because he
weird.
has issues. He has some problems with his own family.
Yeah, well, people have.
But what I liked is they made him somebody who actually legitimately cares, who was really there. But he also wasn't brash about, like, when they have a clash at one point and they separate and she goes on and does her own thing, you think they're kind of done with him.
Yeah.
But when they actually come back together later in the film to talk, it's people that understood, like, yeah, I get it, and it's not a big thing, which I think is one of her best lines in the movie when she's like, I got some feelings to get out.
Yeah.
And
she comes back, she's like, grab your guitar because I got some beep. Right. I got feelings to share. I'm like, heck yeah, that's how you got to do it. Anyways, this is a really good movie. It's different. I like when things are different and new and fresh. And as you can see, it's winner of like 13 audience awards. So it's a really good one. Where can we find it, though?
It will be on the DVD this Tuesday.
Okay.
Or no, it's already out, I believe. It came out this past week.
Okay.
We got it late, I believe.
Okay.
So it's should be already available.
And this
on DVD,
little girl, the main girl, by the way, she sings really well.
If it's really her.
I think it is.
Then you should be able to find it probably on demand.
Eva Novelska. Nobelesada. Oh my gosh. She was in Miss Saigon, Law and Order. I don't know. But she's so good. American Dream.
I didn't watch it.
I don't know.
Right.
She's good, y'all.
Well, I believe it's available now on DVD, and you can probably get it on demand or digital, that kind of thing as well.
Man, she's good. Check it out. All right. Next movie. What do we want to talk about now? We have so many to choose from.
I don't care. We got another one that's very. You want to save that
this
one for the last?
Yeah. Well, let's go here.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
All right.
One of my favorite people.
This would be this one is one of the only ones that opened in theaters this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't believe it got the digital opening at all. I think it was theater only. And this is Liam Neeson's latest entry into old man kicking people's ass, The Marksman.
I love it.
This is the second movie Liam Neeson has come out since the pandemic because he had Honest Thief come out.
Yeah. Which I like that too.
But this one, basically, it's a very simple premise. It's a guy who's I don't think he's a rancher, but he works with immigration.
He's a rancher.
I know, but I mean, he kind of works with immigration on a standpoint of like
his ranch is on the border,
so he knows them all.
He radios them when he sees people.
He's not an ass. He just sees like, hey, we got some illegals.
It's like, hey, there's some guys out here.
He's out shooting wolves off his cattle. That kind of thing. But you can tell he's been through some crap, and he's kind of gruff and grumpy. And of course, anytime you have an action film, your hero has to have something that connects him to be able to do some fighting. He's not taken level fighting in this, but he was an ex-Marine or something, which at somebody his age and time period is not really unbelievable because most of them went to war at some point.
Correct.
And he comes across, he gets put in a position where he has to help a young boy. So it kind of double shifts as a road trip film and an action film.
Yes, because there's people after this little boy.
Yes, and in turn after him.
Yes.
And so then the action ensues.
Yes.
And there's not near as much action in this movie as I anticipated, but there is a decent amount.
There's
and
enough
it's
to
good.
keep it interesting because there's more story.
I think the heart to this movie is him and that boy.
Yes,
and that little boy is good.
He is good. I'll have to go look up who he is.
They have good chemistry. You've got grumpy Liam Neeson talking to this grumpy boy.
I love Liam Neeson. I don't care what he does.
I do too, but they're both grumpy.
They are.
And
They're
so
both.
They butt heads a lot.
They're both dealing with issues, and I think that's the cool thing is they're helping each other without knowing it. You know, it's one of those stories. They're helping each other heal. They're both dealing with loss. They've lost people really close to them. They don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to trust people. They're used to maybe just being on their own.
That. You only have one trust issue. The boy doesn't trust him. Liam Neeson just didn't want to have to deal with him. He was fine helping him, but he didn't want to get this deep into helping him.
Correct.
And then you're dealing with
him and his dog.
You're dealing with cartels. You're dealing with corrupt police officer. My biggest issue, I really enjoyed the movie. My biggest issue was the villain side of the movie was pretty empty. They weren't really good characters or even a good foil for them to face off against. Like the guys, they're very throwaway cartel guys. You know what I mean? It's like
I know, but I think it was the bigger picture of them.
I get it
with the police because we know that's happening.
I get that, but when you have the face-off action type things happening, it helps to build up so you kind of get how, I guess, badass or dangerous these cartel characters or villain characters are.
They seemed very dangerous to me. Anyway, well, I thought they were dangerous and scary. So
I thought they all seemed like just the throwaway thugs,
like the thugs.
Which is fine. Again, like you said, this movie's not about that necessarily. I think that hurts a little bit because you always want to have a good villain with your good hero to face off against, and this one had kind of one-sided. But it's just outside of that, it has some good action. It's Liam Neeson doing Liam Neeson things. Sabine, stop. As Liam Neeson doing Liam Neeson things.
Yes.
He did say that he looks like he's about to retire from the action world.
Oh, that's too bad.
He said, I was watching an interview with him, and he said he's still got 3 or 4 in the pipe because some of these already done, some he's fixing to do. He's getting close to 70. I think he's 68.
That's not that old.
He said he was doing a scene with a guy, and he was fighting this one kid. And there's this kid, I think the guy's name was Tyler. He's like, how old are you? He goes, and he realized he looked up at him, and he's like, he was winded, and he was tired, and just struggling to keep up. And the kid he was fighting was just standing there like they hadn't done anything. And he starts realizing, because I don't know if I can keep this up. So
he's been doing such a good job, though.
He does. Well, he had a career resurgence with Taken.
Yeah.
He wasn't gone.
No, not at all.
But he wasn't
an action hero.
A big box office drop.
Yeah.
And when Taken reinvented him, he was the reason I firmly believe that all these other action stars were able to make their comebacks as action stars again.
Yeah.
With the Stallones, the Schwarzeneggers, and all them. They weren't going to do anything else but that. But that's the reason that people are willing to check it out because Liam Neeson came out of nowhere and was like, hey, I can be an old man action star and you'll buy into it.
Yeah. No, and he does a good job. I really like this one because we get a little bit more story. Like you said, it's not as much action. It's a little bit more of Liam Neeson sharing and being, doing the drama that we like him in. I mean, because he's so good and he conveys so much. And I think one of the funniest aspects of the movie is since he's an older ranch guy, he doesn't even have a cell phone. He doesn't know what GPS is. He doesn't know how to do it. And so I think that's kind of the funny part is this little kid's like, why don't you have a phone? He's like, why do I need a phone? I don't have anybody to call.
Yeah, I don't talk to anybody.
It's just those kind of moments that I think
that's actually
really
who
funny.
I am. I just can't do any of my job without a phone.
I know. You wouldn't talk to anybody if you could try.
If I could, I wouldn't have anybody bother me at all.
I know. So anyways, I think it's a good movie.
I will say it is kind of thanks to Liam Neeson and the little boy, it's elevated, but it is pretty generic.
It's a generic. That's what I'm saying. It's not Taken.
Yeah, it's not, but it's also not really stepping. I liked it better than I liked Honest Thief.
Really?
But I think it's because I like the tone of this one better. Honest Thief wasn't bad. It just to me was not what I thought it was going to be, and so it didn't hold up as well. But this one at least is kind of that not fun, throwaway action flick, and you get the end. You at least had the big climax shootouts and stuff, and
which I did
stuff like that. So
so it was good.
I enjoyed it.
Check it out. All right,
it was number 1 this weekend, even though
there's not a lot else out there
because there's nothing out.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going here.
The next film, we're going to head back to Netflix.
Netflix is bringing us good stuff. And then you saw, you showed me the releases coming up this year for Netflix. Oh my gosh.
Movie every single week, and they're all big.
They're going to be awesome. So thank you, Netflix, for all this great content.
The next one we're going to be talking about is a movie called Outside the Wire.
Yeah.
Which is a futuristic film of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
Starring Damon Idris and Anthony Mackie, which most everybody knows as Falcon.
Yes.
And I like that he's doing this stuff more because I think he kind of got, because Falcon made him such a bigger name.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that he's been around for
He's been doing lots of things, yeah.
Because he's Papa Doc from 8 Mile, and he was in, I think in, what was that other movie that when he was younger? Shoot! Now I remember. But he's done a lot of stuff, and he's fresh off of this movie, Synchronic.
Yeah.
Really done
Synchronic was pretty good. It was little trippy.
Yeah. So this new one, it takes place in the future, but it's not a future world. It's a very grounded world. Really, the only difference is now there's
like
2060 something.
62 or something.
But the only big difference is now there's like robot soldiers.
Correct. Which that's where we've been trying to go, I guess.
Yeah, so there's these robot soldiers and there's people. So they're still working together. It's not like they've replaced the military. But the rest of it is fairly grounded in reality. And Anthony Mackie's character is like a new type of solder, android, AI, something or other.
He's the data of the universe.
So you have the kind of the just generic idea that they infuse from a lot of these kind of movies where Damon Idris's character does something wrong, so gets demoted and gets somewhere else, but it's not quite what it seems.
It's never what it seems.
And you know that what happened to him at the beginning is going to come full circle somehow later in the movie, but you don't know if it's based on his decision or if it's going to teach him a lesson or what really it is.
Yes.
That's kind of the movie. They team up, and the movie, I really like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
I'm feeling
it's another kind of generic movie in theory. But what elevates it to me was Anthony Mackie, not only his presence, but his action sequences make this movie better.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at them.
Yeah, he's good. And then I think the interesting element, too, is that it shows us a real perspective of war and how it affects regular people, which I think everybody forgets. They're thinking of just, people are fighting, blowing things up. But like one of the missions they go on is to deliver medication for the people and for this children's hospital or whatever. So I like that part of it because, like you said, there's these robot soldiers, whatever, but it's about the people and about what they're going through. And I agree. I said at the very beginning, this guy did this, something's going to happen. And so we're leading up to the end. I'm like, that's where it is.
For me,
going to come back.
The entire movie is dealing with, using the robots and those wars and all this stuff. So it's taking humanity out of war by using the robots. Yeah. But the reality of the story here is about this one main human character trying to find his own humanity. Correct.
Because that was the other thing I was going to tell you, because it felt like to me,
he's a drone operator.
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying. So he has no hands-on experience and no repercussions on what he does.
That's what I was going to tell you. It felt very much like these in the future. I don't know how it is now with drone pilots. It felt like they're just playing video games. Like they don't care.
I was watching there's another movie I think called Drone. It might have been Ethan Hawke or somebody in it. But it's a movie, and they're in this thing, and you go through this whole mission, whatever, and then you realize they're like in Indiana.
I remember watching that. Yeah.
And he's killing someone in the Sudan or whatever it is, and then he just goes home like nothing happened.
Yeah, he's so out of touch because there's one scene in the beginning where this guy's the drone pilot, and he's like, I'm ready to launch. And the guy's like, no, I still have 2 guys out there. I want to bring them back.
And he's the guy that's on the ground.
On the ground, because that's the thing. You don't leave anyone behind. So they were trying to kind of break in, grab the guys, and get out, and then you can launch your drone. And this guy's like, no, I'm ready to launch now. And
because all he sees is the mission and how to solve it. And I'm going to save these people. Where normal, there's a line in the movie where the guy says, you save this. He's like, your mission saved this many people. Yeah. He goes, but he would have saved them all. Yeah. Because that's what the guys do. You don't leave no man left behind kind of mentality. And he didn't see that. He saw we're solving the mission, minimal casualties. This guy's like, I'm going to the mission, but no casualties.
Correct. And that's why, he gets sent off to this mission with Anthony Mackie's character, and he kind of does a mini interview, and he's like, how long have you been in? How many things have you launched? How many hostiles did you kill? And he knows that, but he's like, and then how many casualties did you have? And he's like, because he didn't care. That was the main disconnect. And so when he's out here, like literally on the ground, going out beyond the perimeter into the like danger war zone, he's like, I'm not supposed to be here. And he's like, well, too bad.
Well, and then they when they go to one of the schools, the lady talks about it, it's like, oh, yeah, all these kids and stuff. These are all the people that don't have homes anymore because of the drone strikes. So not only did they kill the soldiers, now you have the women and children that are now suffering or displaced because of the war, whether it's the drone strikes or whether it's just the fighting in general.
Yeah. So I think that's the interesting twist of this movie is, it's about all the robots and the AI and all that.
Which is the coolest part.
Which is cool. And,
but Skynet
is real, but it's about the humanity.
Unexpected twist to where it goes, too.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Which that's what I think helped it.
But that's why I'm saying it's a very much Skynet is real situation. Because it is. Like Alexa's listening to us. Freaking
it is not.
Siri,
but just so you know, that is
listening.
Not a spoiler. It is not all the robots suddenly turn.
The robots are not turning out. I'm just telling you, Skynet's real. It's gonna happen. So watch out.
But Skynet's gonna happen. But make sure you worry about a vaccine first.
Yeah.
Don't worry about all the machines that are rising up.
The vaccine thing's a little scary too.
No, I know, but I'm saying you have all this technology already taking over our lives.
Well, yeah, because the vaccine's only so they can microchip us, babe.
Yeah, because they're not following us anymore.
Because this isn't real. I was reaching over here for my water and it's not there. Anyways.
Because someone microchipped it.
I know. Anyways, check out Outside the Wire. It is on Netflix now.
The action is badass.
It is really cool.
There's a lot of it. It is kind of one of these, kind of a popcorn action flick.
Yeah.
In the bigger picture, but a little depth to it. Yeah. Anthony Mackie's though, his fight scenes are badass.
What is he going to do?
So that'd be awesome. Check it out. It's on Netflix now.
There you go. All right, next movie. Oh, we're down to our last movie for tonight.
This last one's a little. We saved it for last because it's probably going to be a little bit.
There's a lot to talk about, and I've already seen tons of people talking about it.
And it's sad that this movie is still very relevant.
And posting about it.
The next one is actually a movie directed by Regina King.
Yes, you go, girl.
Who is already in the industry, obviously as an actress, and she's won an Academy Award, I believe, and other stuff. But now she's been behind the camera for this movie called One Night in Miami.
Based on a true story. And
it's based on, now I don't know how much you know about the true story, but it's based on the true story, but it's more of a fictionalized version of the true story. Because there was a night where Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, and
the basketball guy, right? Is it football or basketball?
Jim Brown.
Sorry.
Where they all did meet up at a hotel and hung out, but nobody really knows what
happened. Right.
So this was a fictionalized production of that conversation that led to the events that were the next day. And the next day events were Cassius Clay becoming Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I think Sam Cooke putting out the song that was very powerful. Jim Brown retiring and becoming an actor full time. And then not long before Malcolm X was assassinated. So it's very interesting, and even if you didn't know, it's another one of those you could kind of tell that it could have been a stage production if it wasn't.
It was, though, right? It is a stage.
It is, yes.
Right, okay.
But it's also stylized in the shooting, so it's not very straightforward like the other one we just watched. The Black Bottom movie. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Ma Rainey.
Very structured like that. And
that was just
like that. This one is structured more
like a film, but you can see how they're bringing. So I feel like if it was on stage, we would have had like the little vignette of Sam Cooke singing over here. Then he comes over here. It's like, oh man, that was horrible.
Yeah,
so you can
majority
see
of the movie
but
takes
it's
place
more
in their hotel room.
It's more stylized as the film. Anyways, it's interesting because I don't know a lot about all of this. I mean, individually, I know what they did and who they are, but I didn't realize like they all knew each other, and a lot of it had to do with their involvement in the help me. What is it actually called here in the United States? I don't want to say they're just Muslims because that's simplifying it. What is it here?
The Nation of Islam.
The Nation of Islam, what it's called here in New York.
Sorry,
thank you. But I didn't realize their involvement and how it all connected them together. And it's how that's really interesting. And I didn't realize all of the stuff that was happening with Malcolm X prior to this, which now you told me I need to watch that. I don't know how I missed that movie.
It was so good.
With Denzel.
That movie is called Malcolm X.
No, I'm just saying who the actor was. And then Sam Cooke, I did know a little bit more about his story just from the musical aspect and how he was trying.
You didn't know Jim Brown at all.
I didn't know anything about Jim Brown, but Sam Cooke I did because he was trying to fit in so desperately. And then it's interesting that Malcolm X is like, dude, you're just playing the game. You have a platform to say something, and so that's why that change is going to come.
Well, I like
was so moving, and then him singing it in this movie was amazing.
Because even his singing and his theory of what he was doing was he felt he was doing that.
He thought he was trying to make a
felt
difference.
that he was using his voice to show that you could be something.
Mm-hmm.
You could be more. You could sing what you wanted to sing. Not everything had to be about being black. Not everything had to be about.
It doesn't.
No,
all have to,
but Malcolm X saw the opposite side. Is like, but you have the platform to show them more, and you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't think he in the movie he really meant. He didn't mean it as an insult. He was trying to open his eyes to say how important you are.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene in the movie where it's kind of a flashback discussion.
Yeah.
And he's telling this story, and he I don't know if the story's true or not. I'm assuming it is. But he tells this story about Sam Cooke and a performance, and that was kind of sabotaged, and it displays his power of what he can do when he's grasped an audience. And I think that was one of the turning points.
Yeah.
I really like that everybody here got a moment to shine.
Yes.
Like every character.
Yes. When we got to see some of their story.
Malcolm.
Yes.
This was literally, it could easily be called One Night with Malcolm.
Yeah.
It was a Malcolm X story where they all hang out and they're talking. Muhammad Ali has just won the title.
Yes.
And that's why they're together to party. They thought they were going to go partying.
Yeah, they thought they were celebrating.
And it
becomes this really deep discussion just about him. And he did want to convert and all that. And then just how all that plays out.
Well,
and then him realizing what it really means.
I didn't realize this was also at the same time that when Muhammad Ali had started with Cassius Clay, had started converting to Islam, and I knew he had been hanging out with Malcolm X. I knew that story, and I knew that he did the speech where he forever became Muhammad Ali. Yeah. But I didn't realize it was at the same time when Malcolm X was planning to leave the Nation of Islam because he didn't believe in what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, and this is like with the beginning of it, because there's one section where he's like, I want to be called Cassius X.
Yeah.
So, since before the big jump. So, I mean, there's a lot happening. And then I didn't know anything about Jim Brown and his story. Yeah. So that was enlightening to me. And I like him. All those times. So good. He's no, but he's so good. And then Leslie Odom Jr. singing is amazing.
Did you know there's two Hodges?
Oh, there is?
There's a brother too.
Oh, cool. And then Malcolm X, and who's the guy that plays Malcolm X, baby? Kingsley Ben-Adir. He is good. He's so good. And you can tell, like you can see visibly when he's being attacked, and his family's being attacked, that it's affecting him, but he's still Malcolm X, and he still believes what he really believes. And, he keeps it together, and just in the face of all of these things, it's amazing. This whole movie is really good. I don't even know what to say, except you need to watch it. It's moving. It's emotional. It's deep.
This guy from The Purge is his brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's Edwin Hodge.
It's moving, and I think, like you said, the sad thing is that the struggle still continues. It hasn't changed.
Oh my God, there's so many things they're discussing and talking about doing, and I looked over at her and I'm like, well, that sucks that this is still this relevant.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be this relevant still.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah. Someone's talking about the Muhammad Ali cartoon when they were little.
Oh, cartoon.
Yeah.
Why do they know about the cartoon?
Why not? Because they liked it. I'm like, that's fine. It's relevant.
I didn't know where that came from. I was like, what?
No, but I mean, yeah, that's the sad thing.
Everybody does a really good job, but I will say that I think the Muhammad Ali and the Malcolm X actors were probably the best, because those are two people that had very distinct mannerisms, and especially Muhammad Ali, the way he talks.
Yes.
And Jim Brown was always kind of very stoic, which makes Aldous Hodge perfect, because he's always very grumpy looking.
Yeah.
Sam Cooke, I don't know how he played, but I didn't know a lot about him personally. But
he looked good. And
but Malcolm X, I mean, it looked like Malcolm X,
like him.
And he had the fingers and the thing talking about him and the way he moved around and carried himself. But the Muhammad Ali was probably the best in relation to just the vocal tones.
Because and how you have to walk and carry yourself.
Yeah, and he was getting the words, and he's doing the yells.
And even in the boxing scenes, how he's jumping around, moving his feet, and so it's really good.
Yeah. So there is more than just a room. You get to see some of the boxing, you get to see some of the singing, you get to see some of the speeches. You get to see some movie set stuff from Jim Brown. So there's a lot of elements that kind of bookend everything, but it's about their discussions.
And I think the near the end, when Sam Cooke is singing, and that is, to me, was the most powerful. And I was crying. He was crying. I was crying. Like, it was just amazing.
It was a really good movie, and it's available now on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon,
and then everyone's talking about the story you told me with Regina King directing and wanting to have perhaps some different people star in the roles.
Oh yeah, she was saying that there was some very prominent actors. She didn't name anybody, but she said there's some very big name actors that really wanted to play in the films, but they didn't want to audition because a lot of them get to a level and they're offered parts. They don't audition anymore. And she didn't say it was like in a pompous way, but she wanted to audition every person because she said this movie meant something to her.
Yeah.
She's like, my butt's on the line with this movie, so I wanted to make sure everybody we cast is perfect. But she also said she didn't realize how important of a film she was making until they were making it.
Yeah. And
then started realizing, but it was just interesting to hear that she turned some big name people down, but for why they did, she turned them down. You
got to audition people.
Because I think as a director, even if you were getting somebody like a Tom Hanks, just because Tom Hanks is a brilliant actor or Robert De Niro is a brilliant actor, they may not fit every role. And
they may not meld together. This is an ensemble. But literally, these four guys are in a room together. They've got to blend well together.
And they are all starring in this movie. This is not a movie about one person. This is
because, like you said, we see this story, then we see this story, and then it comes back and forth with their stories, and then they're back in the room, and it's amazing.
Now, being based loosely inspired, based on a true story. Were you satisfied with the end when it gives you some information? I was bummed they didn't have a photo of them together, but it may not exist.
Correct. Yeah, that was interesting. No, it was fine. I think because there was, I think it's fine. Because I think we kind of wrap up on everyone and what they did do, and I think it was good.
Cool. I enjoyed it. I will say this. It is a movie that might not work for some people.
True.
Not because of its content. The message and stuff is important. Everything else, but if you're one of those that don't like dialogue-heavy movies,
that's what I was gonna say. There's a lot of talky.
There's not a lot of
fighting. And then I love this man, Lance Reddick.
Kareem X.
I love him.
The guy that runs the Continental.
Yes, him. In this movie, he is Malcolm X's everything. He's his guy, and I love him, and I've always loved him since like Alias.
One of my favorite things in the movie was, and it's such a side thing, is I loved seeing the members of the Nation of Islam that found the other guys hilarious. So they're supposed to be stoic, and Malcolm X is getting irritated and whatever else, and even Reddick is serious. But you'll hear him say something or something silly, or Muhammad Ali say something, and there was that one chubby guy that was always laughing at everything they said. And they're supposed to be in their bow ties, being serious,
very stoic,
and he's laughing at what they're saying because he's like, "This is ridiculous." Or they know how Malcolm's about to respond, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah." Sorry, he was in Fringe. That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
I said Alias. I meant Fringe. I apologize. But anyways, I love that man, and I just think he's awesome. Yeah. A random side note, but I had to shout out some props for him. Anyways, check out One Night in Miami. It's available now.
It is. It's really good.
It's really good.
Prime right now.
Everybody's digging it.
And there's been Oscar buzz around that movie, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, cool.
Could Regina King win an Oscar for
directing? Possibly. Anyways, okay. Now, tell me some stuff. What you got going on over there?
Where is?
Yeah. Did you forget something?
No, I think I have to pull something up here.
Okay.
There it is. Hold on. All right. So we still got some giveaways happening.
Nice.
And we got some giveaways coming up. So we'll go ahead and pop on here and make sure I have the right one so I don't lie to you because there was going to be some updates. Yeah, here. Okay. So the giveaways we have going on, a couple of them are the ones that have been up. Usually if I leave a giveaway up for a long time, it's because they either sent me multiple copies, so I leave it up to give people a chance, or they send me more copies. It happens every so often. We have copies of the opening act we've been talking about. We talked about on the show. Stand-up comedy movie is pretty entertaining. We've got copies of Scott Adkins' 1980s video game fun action flick, Max Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
We have Anthony Mackie's film Synchronic that we were talking about earlier with him and Jamie Dornan, a science fiction flick. And we have the movie Jungle Land starring Charlie Hunnam and what's the name? Jack O'Connell, a family boxing drama. We also have 2 other films giveaways that are going to be going up this week. What are they though?
I don't know.
We'll have copies.
I'm not in charge of contests.
I went blank. We're going to have copies of Arch Enemy to give away with Joe Magdaleno. And copies of the movie Random Acts of Violence, which is directed by Jay Baruchel, which is the voice from, you would know him from How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
And he liked and shared my announcement of his new movie. But I believe it's based on a graphic novel or a comic book series. So that's coming out. So we're going to have those 2 going up probably later this week.
Okay. Sounds good. Now let's talk about things coming out. What's coming up? Okay. I'm excited about this. I don't know why, but I find it fascinating, I guess. It's a documentary about Frank Stallone. I tried to tell you this, and you're like, what? I'm like, the Frank Stallone movie.
You just go, the Frank Stallone movie's coming out. And I'm like, what Frank Stallone movie? So instead of the normal follow-up being the movie that's a documentary about Frank Stallone, she's just like, the Frank Stallone movie. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. She goes, Stallone, Frank. And I'm like, I still don't know what you're talking about. And then she goes, it's a movie about Frank. I said, it's a documentary? Yes. I'm like, then why didn't you say that? I don't know. Let me say it again. And
anyways,
then she said it again.
The name of the film is Stallone, Frank, because it's about that Stallone.
Frank, that is.
Not Sylvester Stallone. Frank, that is. Yeah. So it's his brother. And he's a musician. He's done soundtracks for a gazillion movies.
He's been in a bunch of movies, actually,
and he's been in some stuff. He is in Rocky.
Yeah,
he shows up singing in the doo-wop group. He is in Staying Alive,
I watched
which
a
is
couple
my
of
favorite
video movies with him back in the day, and they would capitalize. There was a time when they would put like the brothers of famous people in movies together.
Yes.
So I remember seeing, I think it was them 2. It was an action flick, and the cover box says Stallone, Swayze. But it was Frank Stallone and Patrick Swayze's brother.
That's good. Anyway, so that comes out.
We finally get to talk about that.
Now, this one?
Yeah, that's the Dennis Quaid, Sean Patrick Flannery MMA movie.
Oh, my gosh.
That we watched like a month ago.
I watched, okay, so this is called Born a Champion. And it's actually, I'm not going to tell you.
It's actually, we're not going to tell you.
We're going to tell you next week, but you got to watch it. Anyways, okay, that's limited, but that looks good. Limited. Okay.
That's what I'm excited for.
Coming out to Netflix. This is the new Netflix movie that everyone's talking about. The White Tiger.
Everyone's talking about it?
Yes.
Okay.
People we know are talking about it because we're talking.
Didn't I bring it up though?
Yeah, but this is the Netflix movie of the week. The big one. Okay, it's called White Tiger, and it's about India and the caste system of the rich and the servants, and we got that. But it's brought to us by Priyanka Chopra Jonas.
You just like saying her name. You like adding the Jonas in there.
So anyways,
she
you gotta
is
watch
hot,
that.
Though.
Okay. You're excited about this one.
P.T. Psycho Gorman?
Yes.
That movie looks awesome.
Psycho Gorman. It's about, I'm going to assume, a killer.
No, it's about 2 kids that resurrect an alien.
Is it an alien?
Yeah, it says it right there.
I thought it was
He's
some sort of a psycho killer, but what do I know?
He's been entombed on Earth.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like a comedy, sci-fi, horror.
I don't even know.
I had a screening for it months ago, and I missed it.
It's coming out on video on demand and digital, so we'll be watching that. I'm trying to skip some of these. Coming on Hulu, Derek Delgaudio in and out itself. I have no idea.
Why are you talking about it then?
Because that's what it's going to come out on Hulu.
Okay.
I have to mention it if it's coming out. That doesn't mean we are going to watch it.
I thought you said that came out this week. That doesn't happen.
This one?
No, this one. You said it came out this week.
No, I said it's coming out next week. I'm excited. We're not talking about that yet. I am.
Okay.
Because I liked the first one.
Have you seen the other 5?
I have not, but we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Might have to watch it. Anyways, next. What's coming out on the
not a whole lot, but
and Blu-rays?
this week we have Dreamland, which we'll talk about next week. This movie, we tried to watch it before, and we had some connectivity issues with Margot Robbie and that period one and the crime and this one.
Oh, it
was kind of slow, but it was having connection issues, so we never finished it. Max Cloud is actually hitting this week. A movie called Always and Forever. I have no idea what that is. A movie I probably shouldn't promote, but I'm going to tell everybody anyway. A Serbian film is getting a uncut and uncensored edition release. If you have never heard of a Serbian film,
that's the name of it.
Do not watch it.
Okay.
It's the kind of movie, like, I want a copy of it because I like owning movies you're not supposed to see, but it's not a movie that I would tell anybody to watch.
Oh, is this the one about the? Oh,
yes. This is not a. I have seen most of this movie. It is not a pleasant movie to experience. It is, and I'm not saying it because it's a bad movie. It's because it's a movie that you won't forget it in a bad way, because it deals with some very horrible things. And so, I'm telling you, it's graphic, but it's horrific. It's kind of gross. But it falls in that realm of, like, I Spit on Your Grave that was banned.
Yeah, this sounds worse. Though.
This movie's way worse than anything. It's probably one of the most banned movies, I think, of all time.
Why did they make it? Why did people make this film?
So the guy that made it, it's actually a movie that was made in Serbia. It's not an American film.
Right.
And the idea about the story is about, basically, it's a retired porn star male, and he's broke, and he's trying to do some whatever family, so they hire him, and essentially he's in a snuff film. That's all I'm going to say, because it gets way... You think a snuff film's bad enough, it gets way worse than that. But the guy that made it, I think there was this big censorship situation in Serbia of not letting us see anything.
Oh, so
so he made this movie
way out there
with the idea of it's meant to be a metaphor against the censorship in Serbia, which is why he calls it a Serbian film, because that title has nothing to do with the plot of the movie.
Correct.
But it's one that's so just disgusting. It's gritty and dirty looking too, and then it's gory, and
so just don't watch it.
There's rape and all kinds. You just don't watch that movie. I'm just telling you that if you're a movie collector and you need to know, or you want a copy of it, it's going to be available. But don't watch that movie.
Don't watch it. It's okay.
It's the movie. I would compare this movie to, like, watching a real life decapitation video. It'll stick in your head in a bad way.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah. So that was my public service announcement.
There, you heard it from us.
But hopefully they didn't ask. But don't hear me say that, because I did ask for a copy.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that falls in the realm of, how people are like this when they're dang cutie saying this is the worst thing ever made. I'm like, no, sister, no, you don't know.
This movie, I would agree. If people decided to rise up,
well, maybe within like a Green Inferno or
Green Inferno's not even that bad, but it
got banned. I mean,
Green Inferno didn't get banned. It was Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, that's
the one that got in trouble back then. The people were arrested and put on trial.
Because didn't real people die?
No, but they all signed contracts and were allowed to talk about it. And there's a scene in there where, in Cannibal Holocaust, where if you watch Cannibal Holocaust now, it's pretty lame. It's not as... But you have to look at it the 70s or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
There's a sequence where there's a naked person who's been... The movie's about these cannibal natives that are killing these people. But there's a person impaled on a gigantic spike. So they're literally, it's gone up their backside and comes out their mouth. So they're sitting on the thing like that, the big spike coming out of it. And it looks so real because it's actually a person up there. They shot it when they fixed it to where the person was sitting on this platform, looks up, and they put this thing that sits into their mouth so it looks like it's going all through them. But then they kind of hid the actors, and so nobody knew about them.
Happened to him.
When critics and people started talking about this movie's real, because they really killed a turtle in it, they really killed some other animal in it.
That's not cool.
But because of where they were at, I think it was like in Burma, Thailand, or somewhere like that, they didn't have any of the rules and regulations, so they could do whatever they wanted. And it was shock value crap. Yeah. And it ended up getting taken. The producers, I think the directors, all people got arrested and taken to trial. So they had to actually bring these actors in and say, "Look, they're alive.
It's okay." But
this movie is one. If somebody was to come out and say this movie should be banned, I'd be like, I agree.
But you want a copy?
I do want a
Okay.
copy. But again, it's
So disturbing.
I like owning movies that you're not supposed to have and nobody should see. It's like my friend. There's a movie called Gutterballs. It's a slasher flick. It's a stupid, cheesy
gross.
slasher flick, but there is a 10-minute sequence at the beginning it's a rape sequence. It basically sets up the whole reason for the rest of the movie. But it's hard to watch sequence. And I remember my friend who was a big horror fan. He called me, told me about this film, and he's like, "I'm only telling you." We used to have movie nights. We'd all go and watch these movies together. We'd watch crappy horror films. He goes, "But this is one of those movies that they might not be your friend anymore after watching it." And he goes, "But I know you can deal with it." And of course, now I have a signed copy from the director. And
Disturbing.
anyway,
Anywho, all right. What else?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, that's the show, ladies and gents.
Thanks
On
for
that high note.
our tangent of B word, and we do have sad news that we have to announce. I'm going to bring it up on our show
Aw.
because we did talk about it last week. But our poor cat Xander, who was sick last week on the show, we talked about it, and he came on here. And y'all have seen situations where the cat and the dog chase, or when you talk about it, he has passed away. So
He went to kitty heaven.
So we're shout out to Xander, the most annoying cat that I didn't know I liked.
He loved you. He really did. He was a sweetie. So
He was.
that was that. We're bringing the room down. We need something exciting.
I didn't talk about horrible films you shouldn't watch and our cat that passed away.
Let's bring this back up with something exciting and fun.
Boogers of the Antichrist.
Woohoo! That's what we need. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. You know, we'll be back here next Sunday live on YouTube and Facebook to talk about more fun movies. Please check us out on Instagram and Twitter. Go like, share, tell everyone you know.
That was my line.
It is?
I'm supposed to tell about the show coming out next week, and you just told them.
Well, tell
It's
us.
too late. You've taken my whole spot in this show.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway,
Thank you
It's
so
all
much
good.
for watching. We love you guys.
peace,
Y'all
love,
are
and
the
chicken
best.
grease. Bye.
Peace be with you.